Hi and welcome to Car Mechanical, and today in part 4 of Project Oynx, the budget roller paint job, we're going to be going over the third coat on the car after it's had its wet sand because I wasn't happy with the previous layers. So what you can see there is I've got two trays this time. I've also got two rollers. Now just before I start the third coat, I'm doing something I said in earlier videos I should do at the start, and that is doing the edge detail. So I'm just going to go over the whole of the bonnet or the hood, and I'm just going to put the sort of first coat around the edge, and then I can start rolling that down onto the flat of the hood in a second. Now I'm starting this off with one roller because I don't really need to smooth it with a second yet, but the idea here is when I start rolling on the main part of the bonnet is that because I've done the edges, there'll be a little bit of a sort of a wet strip there, and I can work that into the rest of the paint without doing the reverse of what I did before, which was doing that last and just leaving these bad edges that needed sanding off. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be using a twin roller technique as such. So we're going to be using a wet roller and a dry roller to spread everything out. So I'm still going to be keeping the roller as dry as possible. But if you can see down here, I've got my wet tray on the left and I've got my dry tray on the right. So, and just where I've been over it just now on the edges of the hood, I'm just going to go over the rest of it, and I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit before I even start to put the rest of that first coat over the main area of the bonnet or the hood, whichever way you're used to saying it. So you're just going to go over it and spread all of it, and you can move the roller around a little bit just to hit different parts of the surface to let it absorb some of the excess paint that's gone on. So in a moment we're going to start the main body of the bonnet, and I'm starting to work into it here anyway, but we're going to go on to that with the two roller technique. So I'm going to sort of cut across some of this, but I'll start off and I'll show you. So as I mentioned, get your main roller as dry but wet as possible. That sounds confusing to say, but you want your roller to have enough paint on it to work on there, but not to be so dry that there isn't enough paint to put on. And then as you're layering it on, you're going to use your second roller to smooth everything out, to stop the bubbles building up. And as you lay it all down, you go back over it with that dry roller as such to put it onto areas of paint that haven't yet been put on if that roller gets too wet, and to smooth out everything that you have done already. So you can see I'm just about to switch over rollers in my hands and also blow any crud off that's managed to get onto it. Seriously, flies are one of the biggest enemy on this job when you're trying to work on everything and keeping them out of the wet paint. You can dry sand them out after anyway, but if you can get them out. So there I'm going that over the roller. Notice I'm doing it in one direction. So I mentioned on some of the earlier videos I was going at it from every angle possible, and the result of that, okay, I'm doing a little bit there, but I should really be going over this in one direction to give me less lines as you sort of cross over everything. But as we see here, I'm just sort of working my way over the bonnet and just sort of getting the edges and just work the paint over. I should probably be coming all the way up to the top in one go. Actually, I probably shouldn't be moving all the way across the bottom, so just move horizontally across the bonnet, or vertically, but as you'd see it would be coming horizontally across, and just put your layers on. So here you can see I've switched over rollers again, and I'm just smoothing everything down at the edge. And you see how I'm using this dry roller. This is how much excess paint you can have left out, and if you leave that, it will dry and it will sort of give you these lumpy lines and everything. Now at the end of the day, when you've done everything, you are going to wet sand the paint down, which is going to reduce these lines, and I'm hoping that when it's all been polished out as well, you'll get this smooth final layer and I'll get the satin effect I'm after, or if not matte. So you can just see here I've sped everything up just as I'm working over the bonnet, and you can actually see as the paint starts to dry out, you see the white spirits that they start to evaporate, it starts to get sort of that more finished look. Now I've got a little bit of paint over the headlamp, and just what I want to show you here as well is that if you use some of the panel wipe and you just use a cloth, as it's still wet, you will just wipe straight off. You can let it dry and do it as well, but if you do get anywhere that you don't want it, just use some panel wipe and use some rag and you can remove that off. Okay, so that's the third coat all fully applied. Let's have a walk around and have a look at everything. And in my opinion, it's quite a big improvement from the first couple of attempts at coats there. The paint's gone a lot smoother. You can still see the roller marks, but as the next coat goes on and as the wet sand happens, I'm hoping that it's going to improve things quite a bit more. Now the trim bits still need to be done and put back on. The mirrors need to be done as well, and I need to deal with some of the rear light. But if you just have a look at where we are with everything at the moment, this is a budget roller paint job that's been done for less than £50 in supplies, and about £100 if you include all the materials that I've used for it, ignoring the rust fixes that I've done. And this is saving a car that had rust all over that eventually would have rusted through the body panels and would have just made the car a write-off where mechanically it was fine. So if you join me in the next video, I'll be dealing with some of the trim pieces that need to be painted and put onto the car. If you would like to see some of the other videos that I do, please hit subscribe to the channel. If you've got any comments or feedback, leave them in the comment section below. If you feel there's anyone that you'd like to see this video, hit the share button, drop it on Facebook and forums that you're on. And more than anything, thank you for watching.